welcome to the dungeon. You are listening to the Dream Warrior Review, episode 27. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Mick Strawn.
The directorial debut
of Clive Barker.
Hellraiser, 1987.
Right.
I don't know why I'm doing these hand motions.
1987. Really?
It's the same year that Nightmare on Elm Street 3 came out, which is one reason why I was kind of
odd competition
convincing you to watch it. Because it came out that same year.
No, I was so aware that it was coming out and being
It was a little... I mean, it wasn't really exactly the same time because Nightmare on Elm Street 3 came out in February, apparently. I looked it up. And then September for Hellraiser, so that was kind of... But obviously they were filmed about the same time.
Right. And didn't we do a lot better job all the way around?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Because I have some...
I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, see, I'm so sorry.
This is going to be a fun one because I think I have some things that I liked better about Hellraiser and some things I liked better about...
No.
I hate to say it.
That is just impossible. That film sucked.
Maybe I should say just as much, if not better. Is that a better way to put it? No, but only little things here and there. I'm not talking about as a whole. I definitely like Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Are you going to intro this second?
Yes. Here it is. Wait. Gotta get my voice going. Okay. An unfaithful wife encounters a zombie of her dead lover. The demonic Cenobites are pursuing him after he escaped their sadomasochistic underworld. Hellraiser, 1987. Sorry, I don't know what that was, but anyway, that's really what the plot was all about. It was, and I think it was actually two movies.
You think it was two movies?
So,
I think it was barely one movie.
Here's my thought on Hellraiser. I wrote little.
You wrote something. Okay, so
I wrote some notes.
Wait, so
go ahead.
So,
I'll sit here and wait.
I just wanted to preface this.
Yes, preface, please.
Okay.
Preface.
I want to preface this is I have heard about this film for 30 plus years.
Yeah, it has a huge cult following. People like this
huge.
one too. Just like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Just like Nightmare on Elm Street, and a lot of people assume that I have seen it, and I never really cared to see it because I never understood the makeup with the pins and all the rest of it. It just I don't know, didn't appeal to me. And so now I have finally seen it, and what was all the crap about? Who gives a crap?
And actually, one thing I don't know if you can really compare them because they're totally different movies.
Okay, I mean, you can't compare them, but
since they're done at the same time,
okay.
I think at the time that this was made, I thought it was kind of inventive because there's some things that were actually pretty cool. Actually. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I am looking at you like you're crazy.
But so one thing I like about this is not if you forget about the Cenobites, all those like weird characters. That's why I say it's two movies because the movie is about this woman who's here. I'll write what I wrote down here.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a wife who's supplying blood sacrifices to this zombie who's her lover.
Who was her lover? Yeah.
And so it's actually more about the family and how dysfunctional they are, and it's more like.
So you're saying it's a love story?
It's almost like a psychological...
It's a love story.
Psychological...
It's a love story.
Yes, it's a love story.
You're out of your mind. You have...
So I think the secondary story is the demons.
Too much crap lately.
So Frank and Julia will do anything for Frank, for his love, right?
Yeah, right.
Even to the point of killing people.
Well, I mean... And we
then
know
the daughter's trying to save her father.
And we know that because we've seen her left boob.
So I think it was more about the destruction of a family and how the daughter's trying to save her father from this horrible relationship that she was in. I think it's more about that than it is about the Cenobites and Pinhead.
Well, you see, I was raised in San Bernardino. I've seen this family before. So.
But I don't know. I actually really like some of the imagery. Like I like the rats nailed to the wall that were still alive. I like that. I like the scene with the thing spinning. I liked how dark everything was.
Why do you like?
I really like the music. Did you like the music? I thought that was awesome music.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
okay.
For some reason, I wrote down that the music was amazing. Music was all right, but
but come on. You know, the thing is you have a house where, you know, everybody kind of like halfway acts normal sometimes. And, you know, it's like, oh, don't go in that room there because it's the creepy beyond. And
we have a point there.
I mean, you know, the thing is there was no preface to the creepy beyond. It just, sometimes it was there and sometimes it wasn't. And when it was, it looked vacant and weird, and it had a post that was constantly
the post only appeared when the Cenobites were there, which is weird. But
the Cenobites,
but they could bring a different reality. Don't you think they could bring a different reality to the situation?
Is that what that was?
Yeah, because they're like, we could make your, what was it, pleasure or hell, or you know, I don't know what the word was.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything but look creepy and kill people.
So I'm curious about Hellbound, which is the second one.
Okay.
Because I think, if you look at Nightmare, I'm going to go to Nightmare on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street,
right.
I always forget the A at the beginning. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
Which is the actual word. And I've screwed that up on a couple of podcasts. I think I forgot the A. But anyway, another thing.
I think everybody knows what you're talking about.
But so Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't think the first one was a very strong film. It was basically a good setup for the films to follow. And I think that's how this is for Pinhead. So I'm curious to see how good Hellbound is, because it's probably better than this one. I would imagine.
So we're gonna have to see Hellbound.
You have this horrible look on your face.
But
so okay.
But the concept of A Nightmare on Elm Street was
But see, the concept of Nightmare on Elm Street is almost cliche.
He'd get you in your dreams.
It gets into the cliche area because you have teenagers that are running from something and they're getting murdered.
And these are adults,
and that's a common theme in horror movies. This one is totally different. It's like this weird, unexplainable denominator. They didn't explain it well enough. I agree with you there that it wasn't really well explained. And
so
it was two movies.
What about those effects?
It was two movies.
What about those effects?
Well, there's one effect I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
Was the reverse melting effect that I think it was in...
Yeah, that was Nightmare on 4,
wasn't
Nightmare
it?
on Elm Street 4, right.
Yeah.
The same one.
But it was similar. What I'm saying is there's a lot of similar things just because they're made at the same time, and there was a lot of...
Right.
But I think this kind of stands out to me as a better movie than the average movies that were out there at that time, because I watched a lot of horror movies from the 80s.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
I
prefer Nightmare on Elm Street 3 for sure. But
yeah, but wait a minute. Here's the thing.
Of course, I do prefer Halloween too.
I just thought that the effects were terrible. I mean, the makeup effects and stuff. It didn't look like.
You didn't like the blood?
There was a lot of fish hooks going through skin, and the skin was terrible. And one of the first things that we see is this mask being put together of people's faces that kind of looked like a cross between a bread wrapper and a broken up mannequin. You know, I mean.
Well, when I saw that, I kept having to remind myself, well, this was made how many years ago? I mean,
oh yeah, it was made in 1987, and back in 1987, boy, our cars were 4-cylinder. We had 4-cylinder cars, and that were made one at a time. Yeah, one at a time. There was no such thing as
See, now if you did that voice all the time, this would be a great podcast. Back in my day. No. I don't know. I thought it stands out. I like it. Actually, like
Back in my day, we had pogs, and my God, we knew what to do with them.
But okay, one scene I liked was when Julia was walking into the room, and it was really dark, and all you hear is this really loud heartbeat.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought that was probably one of the best scenes, just because you couldn't see what was in there.
I guess part of the problem is this. I've heard about this film,
and it didn't live up to the expectations. What you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, this film has been like one of the majors. I mean, like the Chainsaw and Nightmare on Elm Street, and a lot of these things that I've worked in this world. I worked in this world for 30 years, and it just didn't come up anywhere near the expectation that one would build up, not seeing it for 32 years, thinking that it was going to be Hellraiser.
So I watched this like a lot, I think in high school we rented it. Mm-hmm. I rented it. I remember when that was, but I remember watching it and I couldn't remember anything about it, so I didn't really have any expectations, I guess. But I started getting into the story with this. It was like almost like a weird Twilight Zone episode or something, where this woman has this zombie that she keeps feeding. I like that part of the story.
Oh, God, yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? I kind of like that story,
Oh, okay.
even though it wasn't really written well. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't written as well as could have been. And then I do like the Pinhead, and I like his little buddies. It's like a gang of demons, which is kind of a different angle on things, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, but
got
the
Butter.
thing is all we...
Butterball, whatever his name is.
Yeah, but all we did was see them.
Right. They didn't really do much.
They didn't do anything. And looking at them, you'd have to go, well, why that? You know, why does Pinhead have pins in his face?
Wasn't this filmed in London? Maybe that's
that was another thing. Is the British are just weird people?
Yeah.
You know,
See, I like Pinhead a lot, but okay.
So you didn't have to take that word out. Sorry.
What was that? What word?
Weird people.
Oh.
Yeah, but
So-
I think we know how I feel about British people.
I looked up the characters and I was like, to remind myself.
Mhm.
I only remembered Butterball
Right.
and Pinhead, but so one of them was just
Well, they
called
have names.
Female, and then Chatter, I think it is, because the one that made it. Anyway.
So the female was the one that looked like she had a weird dental
and make
feature.
those meowing sounds.
Yeah.
Like, which that was the one character I didn't really
You see,
understand.
I guess that was another part of it. Is at least in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 or the Nightmare on Elm Street period, right? A Nightmare on Elm Street had this really strong central character. Okay? This film had Pinhead. I had no idea what Pinhead's
Again, he was a
relationship-
secondary character.
Right, he was a secondary. I mean,
Julia and her husband were the main characters.
right, exactly, and that kind of made it a little bit confusing.
So
Yeah,
I
was
think,
confused.
you know, actually, okay,
I was confused.
I hate to say it, but Mick has a good point. What they should have done is had Hellraiser 1 should have been all about Pinhead
Gotcha.
and how his story,
Yeah, where did
and
he
all
come
that
from?
stuff.
Right, exactly.
and this should have been the second movie,
It should have.
and it would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe the first part of the movie explain what he's all about. Because
But
it starts with this guy doing a sacrifice.
I guess all I really have to say is this: is it does not stand up to 34 years of expectation for me. But you know,
I really enjoyed it.
who am I? I mean, nobody's trying to impress me. Holy crap!
See, I enjoyed it, but I think it's kind of like one of those movies. It's like, it depends on your point of view. Like I said, I didn't really obsess over Pinhead and his deal.
Yeah,
I was more obsessed with this Julia woman and what
Yeah.
craziness was going on with
obviously,
her. So,
obviously.
but I do think it's been kind of put on this pedestal, I think, and maybe people might say it's better than it really is.
How many cubes?
Overall,
How many cubes?
are we getting?
Or
Puzzle boxes, actually.
puzzle boxes. I'm going to give this 1.5 cubes. I didn't like it. I didn't like the effects. Didn't like the story. Didn't like any of it.
So I was pretty generous because I got sucked into it and I enjoyed it. I liked the musical score.
You're not going to say 3, are you?
I was actually going to say 3.
Oh, you suck.
Yeah.
You say
3 out of 5
Jane,
puzzle
you-
boxes.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
So once I see Hellbound, it'll probably be 4, I'm hoping. But see, my expectations are already high now.
See, now I have to see that. That just bugs. me.
It's going to bother me too because I want to see where this went. Like, because it's still out there. People are still making Hellraiser movies. There was one that just came out on streaming like last year. Like,
Yeah.
it went
Oh,
straight-
yeah. No, it's still being done. Yeah.
But they're not getting the same,
Here's the thing.
reaction, I guess. is the
I
word
don't
I'm
know if
looking
I
for.
really wanted to put this into the Crystal Lake, Texas nightmare grouping. You know, I don't put Clive Barker up with.
It was his first effort. I mean, come on, give the guy a break. No, just kidding. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I do think the Nightmare on Elm Street holds up a little bit better than the Hellraiser series because if you look at the last, well, I guess you can't really say that about Nightmare on Elm Street. The last few were great.
All of them. Well, yeah, I think the thing is all these series, these long
They
series,
go on too long.
They all have an opportunity to crash and burn. You know, I am like,
Yeah.
and I guess I'm the worst at this. I will only watch a TV series for 2 seasons.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
And-
they do
and
crash and
present-
burn. Like, I like Fringe a lot, and that crashed and burned on the third season.
Oh yeah,
What
absolutely.
was the one? Heroes?
Heroes.
That one crashed?
Heroes. You know, that was the first one that really, at least they noticed that it crashed and burned, and they took the wheel and crashed it.
Even Dexter, I think the strongest season was season 2. That was amazing.
Well, the strongest season is, the thing is unless you personally, for some reason, kind of like the characters and stuff, and then you're looking at it for a different reason. You're looking at it to, I mean, I know this is a totally guilty pleasure, but I watch NCIS.
Yeah.
Just because I want to hang with Mark Harmon and his friends, I mean, I realize
that's why I watched the A-Team when I was a kid.
See?
I wanted to hang with
See
Mr.
what
T.
happened? Yeah, that's right. I just want. So,
Well, you could tie that into the second thing. We're talking about the second season. You can almost say that about movies too, because I feel like the worst Nightmare on Elm Street movie was the second one. It was awful.
No, it was. But you have to understand, and I've said this before again and again and again, the second film back then, you called it, the first film was the original.
Right.
And then the sequel.
Yes.
I mean, that you don't understand what it's like that when the great bulk of people talk about the sequel, they're only talking about one film. That was the world that I came into back then.
Right.
Is Nightmare on Elm Street 3? Are you kidding? You already done the sequel.
Again, Teen Wolf 1
and it wasn't,
and Teen Wolf 2.
Right, exactly. It's once you've done the sequel, you're out of options.
I'm just trying to see how much I can bring up Teen Wolf.
You do that all the time.
That's weird, isn't it? Where's Teen Wolf 3?
It's an odd obsession.
So my favorite, okay, I'll just admit it. I'm a huge Halloween fan.
Oh, okay.
And
there you go.
I have watched Halloween a lot over the last 20 years.
I only saw the first one, and I don't remember it.
I didn't like the Rob Zombie version as well, but no, but I would say I even like the second and third one, which are probably the least popular Halloween movies. And they're just, it's more about, I guess, different angles that they use. Like, I like the one with I don't remember if it's 3. One that I really like is a really cheesy one that has children in it. I think it's the third one. And it's like this candy company, and it's like, they do this little countdown on TV every day, and all the kids sit in front of the TV, and it's like 5 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. 8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
And I just like that. I'm obsessed with this one for some reason. I like the first one a lot, the first Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
But then this one I really like just because of the creepy angle of this candy company's like mind control. It's
you know what
like,
this is, don't you?
It's like Children of the Damned.
This
you know
is
what I mean?
story time with Kurt. Didn't think that was going to happen,
No. Actually, I should come up with some story that relates to these movies someday. But
yeah, you should.
Yeah. So that was the best I could do. Was me obsessing over Halloween and watching this weird. Anyway, but that's one of my favorite ones because it's so different. And I think each Halloween was kind of took different angles. You had the same characters. I do like there's a psychologist that's in there that I like. But Donald Pleasance, I think, was the guy that played
yeah. Well, Donald Pleasance is he's there are some horror film standards
that you have
to have. Donald Pleasance is always
everybody has their preference, I think. So I mean, I had friends who obsessed over Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th.
Right.
Jason.
Right.
Jason Voorhees.
Right. Well, I had I was always in competition with the people who were doing. When I was doing 3 or 4, I think that they were on maybe the third Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And it was a friend of mine that was on that, and we had to get together every once in a while to make sure that we weren't.
You were doing the same.
We weren't doing the same thing.
Well, that's kind of cool that you guys did that.
Yeah. Well, because the companies can do, they just shroud it in secrecy and hope.
I hope
the
that
guys
comes up with it.
Yeah, but the guys that are down there on the ground, they go, look, we just ain't gonna let that happen. It's just not gonna happen. We're gonna figure out who's doing what.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That probably made the whole genre better. I think the 80s and 90s were actually very good It's almost like the golden age of horror movie,
I think that if you sat down and really looked at the crews of all those films, you would see the same people overlapping again and again and again. And I mean, maybe not even so much from the production design point of view, but definitely from the effects point of view.
Right.
And the thing is, I was a production designer in effects too, so I handled both sides of it, and it was definitely the same people that we were talking about.
Well, if you're going to do a good movie, you probably want people that are really experienced. So those are the people you get, the ones that are doing it all the time, right?
That does not go.
It doesn't
that
go?
doesn't fall. That's all right when we were all young.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I see what you're saying.
But then as you get, the thing is then it's one thing to have 5 years experience. It's another thing to have 30 years experience.
Right.
As soon as you have 30 years experience, you're believed to be outside of the demographic, and now you're older than the directors coming in. And no 20-year-old or 25-year-old director wants to be told that
right.
I've done that dozens of times in my career and it's never worked. The thing is you don't even want to hear it out of your mouth. Even as it comes out of your mouth and you know that it's what you have to say because you've been there before, you hate yourself for it.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, I'm telling you, boy, when we were out there with a fog machine and boy, and the next thing you want to do is just go shoot yourself in the head.
We use practical effects.
Yeah, we use practical effects. I'll tell you something funny though. Now, and this is pretty interesting. There was a guy. His name was Pat Patterson, and Pat Patterson was you hired Pat to come in and do your to do squibs and bowl. He had a 3 card,
right?
The special effects card. He had a 3 card, and he had been around forever, and he wasn't up. He was really, really old. And he wasn't up for figuring out things or anything like that. He would just come onto the show and just kind of be the guy that puts the wire together for you, because legally you have to have that guy. But having him around and having him talk about stuff, like I just remember the story that he was telling me that about his first job. And this is what his first job was. His first job was to make the smoke come out of the Tin Man's hat.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Can you imagine? I swear, every time I saw the guy, I was like, yeah, this. And the thing is he had been around for so long. He knew every fireman in the world. And he knew that he was working with the firemen's children and grandchildren, right? And he's working with them. So you're talking about generations. And if you had Pat Patterson with you, you could get away with anything. Where in order for you to buy your squibs or your gunpowder or your primacord or anything that you're going to use as an effect, you would have to lay it out in the script, and you would have to then go and make sure. You would go to, I can't think of the name of there was a company that you bought all that from that was kind of up in the hills away from everybody up in Sylmar, and they would check out all of your boxes. Like there are all kinds of specifics about the box that you carried in, which is steel and then lined with wood, and it's attached in such and such a way and so forth, and that your spray cans and anything that's flammable is in flammable containers and nowhere near the pyro box, and Pat would drive up. He had an old it's like probably a 1970 Mercedes Benz,
right?
Like a 240C or something, little boxy thing, right? And he had a trunk that was just full of primacord and full of squibs and full of black powder. The guy was a walking bomb. He was a driving bomb, and everybody just looked the other way. Whereas you needed like this amazing box transport things, he would have a box of ST-100 squibs, and he would have it in a 1950s toolbox. One of those like real tin little thing. and opened it up like this. And I swear to God, the trunk of his car was amazing. So at one point, I remember I worked with him, and he was the greatest guy. And he would tell, and the thing is he would just always distract the firemen for you. You know, when you needed to go do something that was, you could never find a fireman because they were all, listening to stories that Pat was telling, right? When he died, he lived in Orange County, and when he died, his neighborhood went on alert to clean his garage out.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, literally, there was when they cleaned his garage out, there was nobody for like 3 miles around the house.
Wow.
It was like in a regular suburb, right? Suburban home, and he had something like 60 or 70 sticks of dynamite that had gotten so old they had sweated to the top.
Oh yeah.
The story of dynamite. Dynamite is a nitroglycerin,
right?
But it's basically packed in with an inert earth.
Okay. Yeah.
But the problem with dynamite back in those, and these are explosives we don't even really use anymore. But the problem with it is that you have to turn it all the time, otherwise it sweats the nitroglycerin up onto the surface, right? And
which can be dangerous in itself, right?
Which then becomes reactive to movement.
Right.
So basically, yeah.
Wow.
And the weird thing is I knew it was 1 week I knew that Pat had died, and the next week the only thing anybody could talk about on the news was that had taken 3 days to clear the guy's garage. That nobody could go into their homes.
That's awesome.
It was totally awesome. It was like the way to go, right?
Right. So did he ever tell you how he did the Tin Man's hat? I'm sitting here thinking about that.
He probably did.
Just put like a little.
I mean, literally it was
fire in there.
You know what they use is they use smokers from.
Okay.
Agricultural smokers.
Gotcha. Or I was thinking those bee things like the.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's either to burn. They had so many ways of making smoke, and so and 90% of them are just incredibly poisonous.
Right. Well, that was in the 30s, right? So.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
That was only in the 30s. Mm-hmm.
It's harmless.
Yeah, right. I've worked around more poisons in my life, and you just, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So, anyway, I guess that was a little story.
That was awesome.
That's a little micro story time.
That was like 2 stories.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That's done.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the Horror-thon. And remember the big giveaway at 9. Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks. The clock is ticking. It's almost time.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Thank you for joining us on the Dream Warrior Review. As always, you can reach out to us on email at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at DWReview. I have a very special announcement. Our next episode will feature one of Mick Strawn's films that he worked on. Yes, we finally convinced him. We're going to review the movie Strays. And actually, there might be one coming up later on that I feel is even more exciting. But we'll get to that later. For now, thank you for joining us on the Dream Warrior Review.